2 weeks into the season and already a bit of a reshuffling in the AP poll. Anish Shroff here with former Colorado and Boise State head coach Dan Hawkins. That's former Georgia Tech quarterback Tom Luginbill. Everybody going into week 2 was saying, well, where are the good games? Not one matchup of 2 ranked teams, and we had quite a few unexpected results.
Well, obviously the shocker at Arkansas, which sent everybody reeling, but you're starting to see some of those new SEC teams, how they're shaping up. But you know the old ball coach. You never, as soon as they saw no big games, look out, here they come.
I'm still seeing a little spaghetti western out there. I'm seeing some good, I'm seeing some bad, I'm seeing some ugly. Just seeing some teams that are still trying to find their way and some other teams that are just rolling along. I think we're going to continue to see each and every team improve, and you'll start seeing teams start separating and other teams start falling by the wayside.
In each of the first 2 weeks, what we did see was the team that was ranked number 8 at the time, they lost. It was Michigan in week 1. Arkansas in week 2. The Hogs lost to Louisiana Monroe in overtime. Tyler Wilson, the quarterback, had to leave the game after taking a hit to the head. Head coach John L. Smith said Wilson is still feeling grogginess and his status is up in the air for Saturday's game against Alabama. Just one of the injuries that Arkansas suffered on Saturday in that loss to the Warhawks. Fullback Cody Walker out for the rest of the year, and Tevin Mitchell, one of their cornerbacks, suffered what's being called an above-the-shoulder injury. He's now doubtful for Alabama. Let's welcome in ESPN.com's SEC blogger, Chris Slow. Chris, what are you hearing about Tyler Wilson's injury and his potential status for the weekend?
Well, he's got to be clear to play before he can return to the field again. And John L. Smith says if he's not practicing, he won't play. And it's still groggy. Took a really wicked hit to the head. And I think it's probably iffy if you're going to see him out there, especially against that defense. You know, the bigger problem, though, for them is defensively they were already giving up so many yards and points, and they lose their best corner. Now, Tevin Mitchell, who won't play in this game, he's been ruled out.
What does this loss to Louisiana Monroe mean for John L. Smith and his future with Arkansas?
We always thought it was a long shot that John L. would be there longer than this year anyway. He pretty much was going to have to win an SEC title or a national title to do that. I think now it becomes just sort of salvaging something that is not a complete disaster. And you look at their schedule. I mean, how long is Tyler Wilson out? Do they get better on defense? But I'm telling you what, guys, they've given up points and yards to Jacksonville State, Louisiana Monroe. This is not Alabama, LSU, and Florida they're playing. So they've got to get a lot better in a hurry on defense, or they're going to face some really tough games down the road.
If the Hogs had won this weekend, we were looking ahead to a top 10 matchup against Alabama on Saturday. How do we view that game now?
Well, again, if Wilson doesn't play, I don't think that Arkansas has any chance. They're going to play Brandon Allen or Brandon Mitchell at quarterback. You know, Mitchell was a backup last year quarterback, and they moved him to receiver. Neither one of those kids have ever started a game as a quarterback. And I think just being able to handle Alabama defensively, they already were struggling up front offensively. It's got a runaway written all over it, especially if Wilson can't play.
All right, Chris, we appreciate the insight. Arkansas taking on Alabama on Saturday. Alabama, the top-ranked team in the country. A year ago, Alabama and LSU were Arkansas's only 2 losses. Now, with everything that happened in the offseason, Bobby Petrino leaving, John L. Smith, the new head coach, Tyler Wilson's injury. First, let's start with the injury, fellas. The injury to Tyler Wilson, if he can't go against Alabama, what shot do you give him?
Well, I think it's going to be slim to some degree because obviously your first indoctrination as a full-time starter, if you are Brandon Allen against the University of Alabama, is probably not the team you would choose to go against. And with concussions these days and all the awareness and the liability that's involved with clearing players, it's not like it used to be where if the guy could, count fingers and follow your finger with his eyeballs, he could play. That's no longer going to be the case. The more pressing concern with me isn't so much the quarterback position because I think Brandon Allen did some nice things. It's up front for Arkansas and the concerns. You look at some of the shots we just showed you, only 1 sack for Louisiana Monroe, but it wasn't the sacks. It was the constant harassment, the pressure, and the shots, and the altering of rhythm to be able to throw the football efficiently and accurately. When you take a look at some of these shots, Coach, I think that's the number one concern Arkansas fans ought to have right now is what do they do up front now that they're going to face a front 7 like the University of Alabama?
this is a guy that spent a lot of time with his jersey on the grass, and just having gone through this even with my own son, my youngest son, you know he's had concussions before, so these things add up and they take longer to get over. So I would say it's doubtful that he's going to play in this game because he's had to have had concussions before, and the shots he took there, unbelievable.
How does the loss, the Wilson injury, maybe alter the season outlook for Arkansas?
Well, I think you need to at least save him for after that. You need him. He is their season. There's no question that he's their season. But why do you put him at risk in this game as well? They need to have all their weapons or to get something going. And as Luke said, they had problems in other areas in those other games up front as well.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to rely heavily upon Nile Davis. If Brandon Allen's got to go, you got to give him, I think, a real steady dose of Nile Davis in the run game. Take some pressure off of the quarterback in the passing game. If I'm Alabama and Nick Saban and defensive coordinator Kirby Smart, the number one thing you're guarding against right now is overconfidence when you're front seven. As you're preparing this game and you're looking at tape, and those guys up front for Alabama are saying, that's Louisiana Monroe just destroying Arkansas up front. I think you got to guard against going into this matchup a little overconfident. And if you do go against a Brandon Allen who's inexperienced, you're going to see some things in the front seven from pressure packages. They're going to dial some things up that will be designed to confuse the quarterback.
Arkansas took a historic plunge. They were number 8. Now they're out of the AP poll. Wisconsin also out of the poll. The Badgers also firing their offensive line coach. Coach Hawk, what did you make of those two teams falling from 8 and 13 respectively to out of the poll after their loss?
Well, a little bit of a shock, obviously, when Arkansas goes down to a team, no disrespect to Louisiana Monroe, because they've got some players. I had them last year against Florida State. That was probably the biggest shocker. To me, everyone downplaying the Beavers, but Mike Riley, very talented team. They've gone through a couple years where they're young. The Rogers brothers getting beat up, going through some quarterback issues. And I think some people pick the Beavers in that game, maybe not as big of a shock, but getting their tailback back, playing up in Corvallis is obviously tough. In Wisconsin, you lose Russell Wilson and a couple of first-round O-line picks. That's going to wear on you a little bit. Going to take a little time to adjust to that.
I think this is an effect of how preseason rankings and the perception of those rankings affect results once the games start being played, especially when you look at Arkansas. I think the expectation level for Arkansas was that they were going to be so good. As with Wisconsin, I think people expected them to be good, but thought Oregon State was going to be so bad. So all of a sudden it's a combination of, wait a minute, these guys don't belong at all. But as I'm starting to look at the AP poll each and every week and seeing what they're doing, you're going to sit there and tell me that Stanford's playing better football than UCLA right now?
It's a great point because it colors the perception on what's an upset.
Right.
Because if a team was ranked too high in the preseason and then loses when maybe they weren't that good to begin with, all of a sudden we look at it and sometimes the knee jerk is, oh, wow, what a big upset. Right. When maybe the better team won in some instances.
No doubt.
And in Arkansas, cornerback Tevin Mitchell, another scary scene, carted off the field in Little Rock Saturday night after colliding with teammate Alonzo Highsmith. He did have movement. They're still performing tests preliminarily on Tevin Mitchell. Thoughts and prayers to all of those guys. Here are some of your headlines. Multiple sources saying Wisconsin has fired its O-line coach, Mike Marcuson, after a dismal showing in Corvallis. Tyler Wilson listed as day-to-day after taking a hit to the head against Louisiana Monroe. Miami linebacker Raymond Buchanan will miss the rest of the season with a right knee injury. And Arkansas, again, gone from 8th to unranked in the AP poll, the second largest drop in the history of the poll. Moving on today, I think we're all chewing on this one. If you would have told me before the weekend that there would be an upset involving a team from Louisiana, my first thought would have been, how did Keith Price pull that one off? No, Louisiana State was fine. And so was Louisiana Monroe. Colton Browning, remember the name. He put the Warhawks on his back, 481 yards of total offense, completing 42 of 67 passes and running for the game-winning touchdown in overtime. We're going to talk to him in a little bit. Rallying from that 28-7 third-quarter deficit, the Warhawks knocked off number 8 Arkansas for their first ever win over a ranked opponent and knocked Arkansas out of the AP poll.
4th and 1, we kind of ran a play action, try to get a quick little out to the side, but they covered it well, and then went to my back, and then I seen a big old hole backside. And, just ran for it and ended up scoring a touchdown. We're really excited. We knew that we can come out here and if we executed our game plan that we could play with them. We believe that from day one. We did a great job this offseason preparing, and the scoreboard shows, we prepared well and we won the game. We're really excited.
That is quarterback Colton Browning. What a performance by the signal caller. Now, the Warhawks not only altered the top 10, they also altered travel plans for sports writers and college game day hosts everywhere. Alabama hosts Arkansas this week. Speaking of which, this is probably the last thing Alabama coach Nick Saban wanted. Even more writers predicting a win for Alabama and disrespecting the opponent, Arkansas, this week after that one. Hey, number 1 overall team in all the land, Alabama, takes on Arkansas, and Alabama's had a lot of success under Nick Saban against the Razorbacks. The Arkansas Razorbacks 1-4 in last 5 SEC openers. Of course, Arkansas coming off a tough loss to Louisiana Monroe. And we are joined right now by, once again, Barrett Jones, All-American Outland Trophy winner, senior center for the Crimson Tide. Barrett, thanks for joining us. Assess the win over Western Kentucky.
I think it was a good win. Our defense really played well. Western Kentucky is a good team. They had won 8 of their last 9 games coming into this game, and their only loss was to LSU. So, that's not really your normal, I guess, easy game, that people expected. But we played hard, and, we have a lot of things we need to clean up and get better at. But, anytime you get a win is a good thing.
Yeah, your offense, you had 103 rushing yards, the 7th fewest since you've been there at Alabama. Leading rusher only had 36 yards. What do you attribute that to?
Well, a few things. The first thing is obviously a lack of execution in the run game. But the second thing is, they really did put a lot of people in the box and, force us to throw the ball. And, that allowed us to make a lot of big plays in the passing game. But, you might not see those running numbers. So, it's a two-edged sword, but certainly anytime we play, we want to get more than that on the ground.
Nick Saban, your head coach, got after the media a little bit yesterday for last week, for building up your team and downplaying Western Kentucky. Did you notice in practice that you were letting the win over Michigan get to your heads? What message was he trying to send you, and did you notice it?
Well, I think he's just trying to send us a message that we can be average anytime we don't prepare the way we need to prepare, and anytime we don't play to the standard that we set for ourselves. And I actually love watching him get after the media. It's pretty funny, and I think he's halfway kidding, but also definitely wants to send a message to us that he wants us to work hard every week, no matter who the opponent is.
But you love him getting after the media. We're in the media. We can end this right now if you'd like.
I mean, it's good for him to mix things up every once in a while.
Yeah, it certainly gets your attention. The same. How do you keep that? The same preparation week in and week out. I mean, Michigan, Western Kentucky, they're not on level playing fields. As a championship team, is that difficult to do on a weekly basis?
Well, the way you do it is, by really not focusing on your opponent and by focusing on yourself. That's what we're taught to do here. Is we really don't, think about teams as much. We don't, put up banners about teams we're playing. We don't have countdowns till we're playing certain teams. We focus on ourselves. We focus on playing up to a standard that we've set for ourselves. And, we feel like if we play up to that standard that usually the score is going to be in our favor to end the game. So that's how we do it. At practice, we don't really talk about being good enough to beat a certain team. We talk about being our best. And we feel like at our best, we're hard to beat.
Well, your quarterback, A.J. McCarron, playing like one of the best, tied a career high with 4 touchdown passes. What differences do you notice in your quarterback from last year to this year?
Well, I think the first most evident difference is just a higher maturity level. I think, last year, coming into the year, he was fighting for a starting job. So I guess that didn't really allow him to take on a full leadership role just because, in the offseason, he wasn't really our starter yet. But going into this year, he was the starter, and it allowed him to really become more of a leader and assert himself on and off the field. And, I really feel like he's gotten so comfortable in the offense that he can do so many more things at the line of scrimmage and enable him to check us into good plays, when we're in bad situations. So he had a really good game, and I think there's only better things to come from him.
He may not have the flash of a Geno Smith or a Matt Barkley, but do you look at him as one of the elite quarterbacks in the country?
I definitely do. I think we've really never been about flash around here. But
Sure.
I definitely think he's certainly an elite quarterback, and he does everything we ask him to do and more. And I think, he's one of the best quarterbacks we've had around here for a long time. So I love playing with him. He's really a passionate, emotional guy, and if you talk to him, he loves the game, and he's a perfectionist like me. He loves doing things perfect, and anytime it's not done perfectly, even after this game, I know there's some throws that he wanted back, just because he's such a perfectionist, and that's why he's had a lot of success, and that's why he's a great quarterback.
How surprised were you when you heard the result of Arkansas's game with Louisiana Monroe?
I was certainly surprised. I think Arkansas is a really good team. I do, and I've already watched a little bit of them, and I really do think they have a lot of really good players. So, I think the fear this week is that we see that game and we relax a little bit, and I think Arkansas is going to come out and play us really hungry and play us really well like they always do. It's once you get an SEC play, kind of nothing else really matters. So, I think they're going to bring their best game, and we need if we don't prepare this week harder than we have the last 2 weeks, then I don't think we'll win the game. So we got to prepare this week and really play to our standard.
Barrett Jones, hey, we're still pushing for your Heisman run here, just so you know.
Well, thanks. You guys, I think maybe the only ones, but at least somebody's pressing me for the Heisman, I guess.
Barrett Jones. Barrett, thanks a lot for the time. As always, best of luck this week against Arkansas. Thanks.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And there is the Crimson Tide schedule. Yeah, took care of Michigan, took care of Western Kentucky, Arkansas this week, then a week off from SEC play, then back at it. Interesting stretch when they visit Missouri, then they're at Tennessee. Alabama, the #1 overall team, off to a 2-0 start as they get set for the Razorbacks. And we're joined here on College Football Daily. I'm joined by Kevin Carter, weekend counterpart from the Florida Gators, former Florida Gator defensive end. Your big takeaway from the weekend, let's begin with that Arkansas game. How shocking a game. I know Wilson got injured in the game, but you don't lose games like that.
Well, this is a classic example in college football of why you have to play the game. We can prognosticate and predict all that we want to coming into the game.
You sound like Nick Saban.
Talk about the strengths and weaknesses, but you know what? This is the personification of just that process-oriented approach that Nick Saban brings to the table. And you know what? When you lose people, when you have injuries, someone else has to step up. I mean, I don't care if Tyler Wilson's not there. Someone else has to step up and take this team on their back and win against University of Louisiana Monroe. I mean, hey, kudos, props to them. I think the quarterback in particular had a masterful game. He really commanded, had a commanding presence and made the play when he had to and clutch and all that. But you're Arkansas. You are the third-ranked team in the SEC West.
No doubt. I mean,
well, they were anyway.
The were being the key thing. This offense struggled. One of the most surprising thing was how they kept getting after Wilson, making life difficult for him.
Well, that did not surprise me as much because last year when there was no Nile Davis, teams keyed on Tyler Wilson and their offensive line got exposed. Tyler Wilson got hit a ton last year, which is why coming into this season I said, man, you got to give him the nod as being one of the nation's top quarterbacks because he's just so tough.
Quickly, if you're an Auburn Tiger fan or player, what are you thinking right now? You're 0-2, and you're staring at a ULM team that just knocked off Arkansas.
If you're Auburn?
If you're Auburn, yes. I mean, you're cracking that panic button, aren't you?
Yeah, Auburn better look out because you know what? If I'm any team in the SEC West, I'm thinking that maybe the SEC West isn't all it's cracked up to be, okay? The SEC East is on the rise. You got Florida and Tennessee, pivotal game this weekend, two teams that are looking to notch themselves up. Mississippi State has already done that by beating Auburn this past weekend.
What team was more disappointing this past weekend, Arkansas or Wisconsin? Kevin Carter, you start this time.
Arkansas. Let me tell you about disappointing. Talk about winning 10 games for the last 2 seasons, reinserting one of the SEC's top running backs in Nile Davis, having one of the top quarterbacks in the SEC and Tyler Wilson, blowing a 28-3 lead against a team that's not even supposed to be in your known universe. They're not even in the same ballpark.
Oh, no
they're not even in the
respect for
same
the Sun Belt.
sport.
No
And hey,
universe.
no disrespect to Louisiana Monroe, but a disappointing season for the third best team in the SEC West. Are you kidding me?
For the third best team in the, well, I'm going to go with Wisconsin because they're supposed to be the best team in the Big Ten. You're talking about a football team. That's right. You're talking about a football team in Wisconsin that returned the #1 ranked Heisman contender at running back in Monte Ball within this program. Yet another transfer quarterback in Danny O'Brien. All right, you go on the road to face a team in Oregon State who is picked to finish behind Washington State in the Pac-12. You look at what they did right here. I'm going to run down some things for you. Wisconsin in the first 2 weeks last year outscored their opponents 86-17. This year in the first 2 weeks, 33-31. They only managed just over 150 yards rushing against Northern Iowa in a game they almost lost. Go on the road to Corvallis at Oregon State, who, by the way, hadn't even played a game. They had to bye the opening week. This was their first matchup. All right, 35 yards on the ground for Wisconsin. Wisconsin, 35 yards.
107.
This is the most disappointing team.
Rebuttal, Kevin.
107 total yards for the Razorbacks in the second half.
Their quarterback went down.
The Tyler Wilson led. This is an explosive. You can tell
There
me
was
that
no Tyler Wilson.
a quarterback and a
was
play
at the
caller
hospital.
mean this much to a team. This is the third best team in the SEC,
Not without
and they
Tyler
lose
Wilson.
to someone who's not even on the radar. This is for SEC fans. They will not stand.
And at one point last
calling
season,
for his head already.
remember, Arkansas was #3 in the BCS standings. They were behind LSU and Alabama, and those were the only 2 games that Arkansas lost a year ago. Wisconsin, though, they've been in the Rose Bowl.
Oh, you got
2
me.
years in a row.
Yes. Survey says.
I think people banking on the power of the SEC.
I think people who are in the SEC care a little more. Look where the votes came from. What is going on? Come on,
We've
Midwest.
moved that
represent.
Mason-Dixon lineup considerably.
Line of demarcation.
Yeah,
Right.
moved up. 3 states undecided there. All right. Louisiana Monroe taking down a top 10 Arkansas team. How about in overtime? Colton Browning takes off, gets the pylon. The Warhawks taking down the Razorbacks. Pig roast in Little Rock. And then South Florida, who lost so many heartbreakers a year ago, really needed a prayer late, and they got it. Andre Davis taking it to the house. And then this. In the final minute, the toss-up, Davis hauls it in. He's a guy Skip Holtz said he expected a breakout year from. He's delivering so far. Which game winner was more impressive to you?
Louisiana Monroe, without question. A top 10 team in Arkansas? Are you kidding me? You know how much mileage in the state of Louisiana that this is going to buy this program? Talk about elevating your team. Talk about changing the culture of how you're perceived by everyone else. Arkansas, coming into this season, was the third best team in the country's best football conference in the SEC West. I mean, there was no one better in the West but Alabama and LSU. As said by all of us experts up here. And for Louisiana Monroe to beat this top 10 team, huge.
Monroe, they play Auburn this week. You think Auburn's worried a little bit?
They could beat 2 straight SEC teams.
I'm actually going to go with South Florida here because I think this throw single-handedly salvaged whatever marginal perception, and that's probably saying it best, the public has of the Big East Conference. If South Florida loses this game with the performance we've already seen, out of Pittsburgh, which has been disappointing. No more West Virginia in the conference. We already know there's a lot of negativity surrounding the conference and the difficult schedule, whether it's difficult enough to qualify for a BCS automatic bid. If South Florida lost this game, it would crush this conference from a perception standpoint.
One would think it's got to be huge for a school which lost so many close games last year and lost a ton of games on the final drive, few on the final play. You're going with South Florida. You like Louisiana Monroe.
Big finish. Here we go. Arkansas lost at home to Louisiana Monroe. Fell all the way out of the top 25. Is that fair?
Yeah, they struggled with Jacksonville State the first week. Get them out.
Let's start with the Arkansas game. Buck, Arkansas, Louisiana Monroe might be a very good team. They could very well maybe beat Auburn this weekend, and we may think of them differently. But if you're Arkansas, you're a top 10 team. Even without your quarterback, that's a game you have to have. What happened?
Yeah, you can't say you were looking ahead. I mean, if you're John L. Smith, it was a bad week for him all the way around. Filing bankruptcy early in the week, and then having your team not prepared to play in the third quarter moving forward because they had that game in hand. And I think if you're Arkansas, you got to really evaluate what you're going to do and batten down the hatches because you're going to have a lot of negative energy all this week, us included, talking about this team. But if you don't prepare, Nick Saban is going to tell the media how good Arkansas is, and they're going to come and lay the hammer on you if you're not ready to play.
The issue at hand isn't Tyler Wilson because they had the lead when he left. The issue at hand is their defense. I mean, their defense couldn't stop this football team. And if your defense can't stop Louisiana Monroe, how do you expect to stop the Alabamas and the LSUs? I mean, defensively is where they have their biggest issue. Quarterback, they can get those guys healthy or put somebody else in.
Well, it was the same thing on both sides of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
I mean, Louisiana Monroe got after
That
them up
shouldn't
front.
happen.
They look fine.
They regressed in yards rushing also from the first week to the second week.
But look at their offensive line play. I mean, look at them last year. I mean, Tyler Wilson was one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC, if you ask my opinion, because he got hit and he had those kind of numbers. I mean, he got hit after hit after hit after hit. And this is watching him, this is what happened to him all last year, and he put up crazy numbers. Having Nile Davis back in this offense should have galvanized this team, should have got them back on track, should have really just inspired this offensive line. You ask any offensive lineman, what do you want to do? You want to pass protect, or do you want to run the ball? Usually, they want to run the ball. Yeah. I mean, with Nile Davis back there, you know you have a guy that can take it to the house on any play.
But isn't this why they hired John L. Smith? They wanted a guy that had experience there, knew the players, knew the coaching staff. It would be as seamless as you could under the circumstances of Bobby Petrino leaving. And he was experienced, and now you have a team that I think was looking ahead to Alabama and played like it. And Monroe's a good little team, don't get me wrong, but you cannot lose a game like this on your home field, and you got Alabama coming up there.
ULM beat Alabama in Nick Saban's first year in 07, right? So they want to make history and have Alabama come in and just, I mean, what is Arkansas going to do? What is their identity? And Coach, you can attest to this best. People talk about, well, you have to change everything. But being a coach, you can't do that after you've gone spring and then the fall, and this is all you've learned. I mean, what can the guys do to get through with what they have now?
Well, they got to get better at what it is they do. And if they're going to play Tyler Wilson, they better work on protection. I'll tell you that right now, because he got blasted last year against Alabama as well. And you've got the rest of the season to think about, and let alone this first game. So they've got to be able to get some protection short up, get out of that one back, get into some 7-8 man pro. Now, as you guys know, the other thing they're missing is some of those wideouts outside that made people look silly when they were able to get the ball to them.
Yeah, well, the bigger issue I have, that right there is not understandable, but, we've discussed it. So let's move.
Gene, how do they color how we perceive their Week 3 matchups now?
Well, in Arkansas's case, I think the big question is, do you go ahead and play Tyler Wilson? Is that a smart thing to do, given his situation physically?
No.
He is going to get killed against Alabama. I mean, let's face it. Against that defense, I would not play him.
It's a long season. If you want him to see the end of it, he doesn't see this week.
But guys, I'll say this: if they clear him and the coaches say, and he shows that he doesn't have any symptoms, they're going to play him. I mean, we can say what we want to, and what's right about the kid, or he shouldn't. But if he is cleared and he shows no signs, he's able to go through everything, Tyler Wilson will be playing on Saturday.
I only have reason now because I'm sitting on this chair, because when I was the player, if I was cleared to play, I was playing regardless. I punctured some lungs one time, and I was just waiting for the doctors to go, cleared. I mean, I was going to go the second I was cleared. Same way with the football player.
How many
You're
times
20 years
was your
old.
knee drained or
Once
this
they tell
done?
you can go, you go.
This is true. I mean, there are so many times, like you said, Charles. I mean, yes, I've had my knee drained. You had to, you got a cracked rib. You got to get a little lidocaine shot or something you have to do in order to play. I know Tyler Wilson's that kind of competitor, but if you're the coaching staff for the Arkansas Razorbacks and you're in that space of, you know what, we don't know quite who we are. We thought we were this team. We thought we were this, and we don't know if we we can kind of get ourselves back on track. I mean, if it's a scheme thing or if it's an identity thing or what's going on. Let me tell you who Alabama is. Okay, they are Cobra Kai from Karate Kid. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy, sir. They're not going to care whether he's healthy or not. They don't care if Joe Montana's playing quarterback for them. They're going to get after him and they're going to pound him.
This is where the doctors have to use some voice of reason. The doctors have to go ahead.
The coaches are the professionals. The doctors are professionals.
The doctors have to be smart
voice
to
of
go,
reason.
He could probably play, but considering who he's playing this week, let's just hold him out for 7 more days.
Guys, I agree with you, but I think also it's going to take him and his parents to make sure, even if it's mom and dad, it may not be coaches, but somebody's got to reach him and say, if you're healthy or you think you are, we know what's good for you long term now that we know. We probably all have sat up here and played when we shouldn't have played. If they clear him, we may see him on the.
I don't see a Mr. Miyagi doing the
wax on, wax off. This is an interesting dilemma for John L. Smith, a guy who's on a 10-month contract, though.
Yeah, he's in an unwinnable situation. Whatever chance he had of maybe keeping this job, it flew out the window when they lose at Louisiana Monroe. It's been a horrible week for him. Declares bankruptcy, loses a game that he should have won, and now he has to keep it together against Alabama.
And what you just said, the players know. So the difficult part now is your locker room staying on board with the plan when they know you're not going to be the carekeeper next year.
Right.
Yeah, that assumption seems to have been made the second that Louisiana Monroe game ended. In Arkansas with a historic tumble from top 10 to out of the AP top 25.
Here we go. How's everybody doing today?
The third day of practice each week at Arkansas is called Perfect Thursday.
Look up here. Go ahead and get your pen going, please.
It's the final opportunity to perfect the game plan.
Field though, right? Once you recognize this run, don't run upfield.
With the imminent arrival of Alabama, every moment of preparation is intense.
Oh, you see the offensive lineman come out, somebody's in the way, they just start knocking people down. Do the same thing.
Damn, Green 8. Said hot! Expect that damn hard count.
They ain't gonna stand there and watch, I'm gonna tell you that right now, okay? They'll come hard. It's 90% desire, 10% technique.
Pull it.
For Arkansas's defensive line, technique is crucial.
When we stop our feet with play action pass, all right? Hell, we'll be like this, play action, here.
They will face the largest collection of blockers in the nation. Each Crimson Tide O-lineman weighs over 300 pounds. The challenge in front of the Hogs is formidable.
They just pound you, and they keep it going, and they wear you down. We got to make sure we're ready to fight every single down.
All right? Let's be smart. Let's get off the ball. Let's win up front. We get a one-on-one, you got to win.
All right, let's go. Come on, gentlemen.
48 hours before the game, there is still no clarity on the quarterback situation. Brandon Allen and Brandon Mitchell must be ready to go if called upon.
Here we go. Stop it.
I feel like I got better each and every day. It's kind of in and out, being in the training room, doing rehab, trying to get right, doing testing. But I've been here for 5 years, so I felt that I was very familiar with the offense and could pull it off if I needed to.
Tyler's, it's a game time decision, so there's a possibility of the starter not playing. There's always that little bit of pressure added on to you, but really as a backup, you prepare every week like you're going to have to play.
Here we go. Hustle.
It's the last practice before the game, and a sense of urgency has taken hold.
Go! Like it's important! Go! Come on!
The stakes are clear. Win and erase the past, or lose and face a season of uncertainty.
Move over! Tank, move over!
You guys that are coming now, you guys got to give us a great look all day.
Look at him, shove him into the end zone. Don't just stand there, drive him. You got me? Drive him.
It's definitely going to be important that we focus and that we study our opponent and that we execute the game plan. And in practice, we can't take any reps off.
We're back on the same card. We should not have to repeat anything on a Thursday. Who's in his face? Let's get it done.
They'll go to the field with a great work ethic. That part is not a problem. It's just making sure that we pull together, that we totally believe that we can win this football game. And that's the biggest thing. Let's go to the field with that belief that we're going to go get it won.
Good job this week academically. Good job athletically. Now we just have to finish it up. Okay, so let's finish it up there, and then let's finish it up on the field.
And with that, practice is finished for the week. Meanwhile, outside the stadium, students have pitched their tents. They'll spend the next day and a half on the sidewalk as they wait in line for the best seats for the game.
Pizza!
In what has become tradition, the football team delivers pizza to the campers. Tonight, they'll hand out 100 pies to their hungry classmates.
There you go. Kind ladies and gentlemen, pizza. Hey, we appreciate y'all being down here.
Thanks, man. Absolutely.
Everybody get
So fun.
Seeing these guys out here, does that really pump you guys up even more?
Yes, because usually those questions are raised, are they still going to be here like they were before? And this means they are, and to camp out still after a week like that means a lot.
From the grim faces of the players, it is clear that the season, only 14 days old, has already taken its toll. In the one night that remains before the Alabama game, the team will contemplate what needs to be fixed in order to set this season on a new course. It's a question each Hog will confront. What can be done to make a difference? Inside Barnhill Arena, the Razorback faithful still believe.
We are fired up for this game tomorrow! So what your part is in this, the challenge, the coaches we want to lay down to you is to make it the most hostile place in the SEC. Tomorrow, when it's burned down, that's what we need.
In a little more than 17 hours, Arkansas will have a chance to change how this season is defined. It's a chance that can't come soon enough.
Well, last week, shake-up Saturday when we didn't expect it. We're in Knoxville, not Fayetteville, because of the Warhawks of UL Monroe knocking off the Hogs. The fallout continues as the Tide come calling today. It was a disastrous road Saturday for the Big Ten. Wisconsin, Nebraska going down, and
you know what, though? In Arkansas, they're still wondering who their quarterback will be today. Tyler Wilson going down in the loss to Louisiana Monroe with what the university calls an upper body injury.
What does that mean?
Above the shoulders.
Above the shoulders.
Yeah, you take that one away, David.
Looked like it hurt. But I tell you what, Brandon Allen is going to have to step in and play. And remember a couple years ago, Tyler Wilson steps in for Ryan Mallett against the eventual national champion Auburn Tigers, throws for 300. Brandon Allen has to step up. And I think the curveball is Brandon Mitchell. This is a guy that he's played receiver a little bit this year, really athletic. Maybe you can throw off this Alabama Tide. Great defense by Brandon Mitchell coming in, running a little wildcat, throwing the ball, giving him a curveball.
Now, Nick Saban may just be throwing us a bone, but he told us yesterday that he's not really sure what to prepare for if Tyler Wilson doesn't play. So whether or not Tyler plays, what do you think is going to happen in this one?
Well, if Tyler plays, then I think Arkansas has a chance. This is an offense that's explosive. He knows it inside and out. And if you go back and watch that game a year ago, he had several opportunities to make plays against a great Alabama defense that he didn't make. He gained experience throughout the season. Without him, I give them a very slim chance. Never say zero, because I wouldn't have given Louisiana Monroe last week any chance. Arkansas defense, too, guys. It was 28-7 last week. They were up. They folded completely. Their defense has to step up as well.
Wait, so you're saying there's a chance here if their quarterback doesn't play that they beat the Alabama team?
I'm saying there's a chance. Are you saying there's a chance? I'm saying there's a chance.
Well,
1 in a million, there's a chance.
How's that going to happen?
Well, if he plays, though, again, he didn't forget how to play quarterback. This is an all-SEC caliber guy. This is the best in the SEC. He knows how to throw the football. It's an offensive system where they spread you out and that they can take advantage. Now, listen, that offensive line's a little bit banged up. Now, Davis, have we heard from him yet this season? We need him to step up as well. But, I mean, there's always a chance. If he plays, though, it gives him a greater chance.
There were quarterback questions about injuries at Missouri, also at Arkansas. Tyler Wilson, we're getting updates by the minute on this guy. With or without him, do you think Arkansas can pull off the upset?
I'll give you an update. This is going to be a KO. I don't think this is going to be close. And Arkansas's defense is still not up to par. I mean, this is still a bad defense.
Exactly.
Alabama's going to roll.
Alabama, let's keep it moving.
Yeah, keep it moving.
It's not even worth a discussion.
Let's move on to the one the people behind us care about.
Last week, A.J. McCarron threw 4 beautiful touchdown passes. He's going to light up the Razorbacks secondary today, too. Why? Those DBs last week, man, they played like they couldn't cover a wide receiver. If he fell down on the field, they had a blanket.
It's interesting. You look around the landscape, and you see Saban disciples everywhere. And you ask these guys, what did you take away from working with Nick? And they say different things, not always the expected things.
Not always just the tactics and the planning and the so-called and revered process, if you will, that we always hear so often about Saban. But the best coaches understand, Chris, that beyond execution, football is also a game of emotion. And as such, they're always looking for different ways to motivate their teams, often by bringing in outside speakers. Before this season started, Nick Saban could have brought anyone in to talk to the Crimson Tide, a legendary quarterback or a former Heisman winner. Instead, he chose a man whose message reaches far beyond any goal line.
I want them to see a man that was determined. I want them to see a man that never lost, saying to himself he'll rather die than admit to something that he didn't do.
Dewey Bozell.
Each and every person in this room has one of the most greatest gifts in the world, and that's your youth. Sign a piece of paper, and I walk back to the courtroom on the spot. Well, because of me not doing that, it cost me another 19 years behind the prison walls. I went in prison at the age of 23, and I came out at the age of 50.
He's, to me, the epitome of, someone who had a very, very difficult circumstance. Why anybody would think that they could take anything for granted after what happened to him.
I knew that I had a choice, and the choice was lay down and die or get up and do something about it. Never, never, never let nobody tell you what you can't do. Never. Never.
Sitting back thinking today, what's my purpose in life, and to hear a message like what he gave us tonight, it was very important to everybody on the team. Just letting us know we can never give up on anything.
And no matter what, stay focused.
You have to persevere. And even though you have goals and you think you're going to live for 1,000 years, tomorrow is the most important day you have.
You're not guaranteed nothing, man. You all got a gift on your side. Run with it.
Bozzella famously served 26 years in prison for a murder that he did not commit. 4 separate times he was given the opportunity to sign his name to a piece of paper to admit his guilt and gain his freedom. A signature to walk out of Sing Sing prison in New York State. Each time he refused to do so. Ultimately, he gained his freedom. He was an aspiring amateur boxer, and as a result had one pro fight, Chris. One fight at 52 years old. He beat a man several decades younger. It was when Nick Saban saw that story of perseverance that he wanted Bozzella to come in and speak to the Crimson Tide. And you saw the reaction, a standing ovation.
And Saban would say that's very rare from a group of college football players. Tom, thanks. Terrific piece. The Tide today play Arkansas. They've won 20 straight SEC openers, 5 against the Hogs, including 4 straight years. Saban's offense has averaged 37 points per game against the Hogs. How you going to beat them allowing 37? The defense has forced almost 3 turnovers per game. But of course, quarterback for Arkansas is the story today. Tyler Wilson in that shocking loss last week to UL Monroe, knocked out when the Hogs were up 3 touchdowns. Chris Lowe of ESPN.com reporting he is out, not medically cleared by doctors to play. John L. Smith has not said that, maintaining it's a game-time decision. But Brandon Allen, who struggled against ULM, was 6 of 20, couldn't take the blitz. May have to go tonight against the Crimson Tide's experienced and confusing defense. Brandon Mitchell, who has moved to receiver, moved back to quarterback, taking some snaps this week in an emergency. So a concussion and a collapse last week transformed what could have been the SEC's second biggest game this season into an odds-makers mismatch. The Crimson Tide, a 3-touchdown road favorite. Wilson was supposed to be able to probe that Tide's inexperienced secondary. Whether Allen can do that is another matter. Arkansas's defense was supposed to be a lot better. Certainly didn't show it last week. A.J. McCarron's confidence has to be high after watching that tape. Tevin Mitchell, by the way, the corner, also injured for Arkansas and not going to play. How dangerous are the wounded Razorbacks? They are preaching togetherness and faith in John L. Smith. And some fans, well, at least one fan is still singing United We Stand. Others seem a wee bit frustrated and shocked.
Here's the ball game. Browning making his way to the end zone. Touchdown! Louisiana Monroe has pulled off the upset. Not gonna be. He can't be.
Is this one of the more devastating losses you've been a part of personally?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably the worst that I can think of at the moment.
It's embarrassing, unbelievable. Saturday night successfully made me want to throw my remote through my TV screen.
We all contributed to the loss, and I don't want to see any of this and this, because that's the easy thing to do, and that's what losers do, is they point fingers.
These coaches, they couldn't train a duck to swim across a pond of water.
A classless goofball that can coach his way out of a wet paper bag.
We still believe in John L 100%. Everybody on the team does.
Our standpoint is we're 0-0 in SEC play.
If you're not a part of this and you're not totally in the boat, then get the heck out of here.
No. Oh, boy. We love the caller.
Wow.
They're everywhere in the SEC, but they were out. They just expected to roll through that game, expected to be a big game atmosphere. The problems, Desmond, are all over the place. I mean, way too many penalties, 15 of them so far this season. They don't look sound. That's what's disappointing.
They don't. And to play in this game against Alabama and have any hope, they must experience a great deal of success early. I'm talking about defensively. They must force Alabama's offense into consecutive 3-and-outs just so they can have some hope. And offensively, they're going to need to string together some drives, some 12, 13, 14 play drives, and come away with some points. At this time, we're looking at a team that's been deeply bruised. I mean, their egos are hurt. They need something to gain some confidence to even prove to themselves, Kirk, that they can play with the Alabama Crimson Tide. Because listen, if Alabama comes out early and score, this game could be over in the second quarter.
Yeah, and if Tyler Wilson were playing in this game, and Chris Lowe's saying that he is not going to play, if that ends up proving to be true, then really I can just turn to Lee. The analysis is over. This game is ugly in a hurry if Tyler Wilson can't play.
Brandon Allen can't do it.
No shot. No shot. If he were healthy and he's able to play, then I think this is an interesting game because I think that Wilson brings experience. He's got some playmakers around him. They can show some things to challenge an Alabama defense. But, I don't see it. I think Alabama on the road gets it done.
Well, Arkansas has one major problem today. Their defense is lousy. Lousy. Against Jacksonville State and Louisiana Monroe, they allowed 30 points a game. Hello. Emotional defense will take you only way, and then reality sets in. Alabama, real big.
That's what I was going to say. Unless Tyler Wilson was playing both ways, that secondary was just awful last week.
And the other thing, we talk so much about Bama and their defense, but this offense, A.J. McCarron is ready to have an All-American caliber a year. He has been flawless up to this point with his decision-making, the way he's getting them, he's checking, making the right checks. Now, again, this is their first true road
Did you see my Saturday slate tape? Those touchdowns he threw, I mean, they were like pinpoint accurate. 4 of them last week.
They played Michigan and Arlington and whatever last week, and now this is the game where they're on the road, and we find out a little bit more about, are they that dominant? Are they as good as we all think they are? We'll find out today.
But will we really measure them by this deflated Arkansas team?
I think Arkansas will come out and play a little bit more inspired. What do they have to lose? Throw Haddock into the wind.
Wait a minute. First thing, they're smart not playing Wilson.
Right.
Let them go.
Long term.
This game, blow this game, and then win 7 or 8 in a row. Well, they cannot beat Alabama with or without.
So why risk it?
Why risk them?
7 or 8 in a row. He's very hopeful.
Wilson was out there pitching the ball around briefly at practice this week, but the doctors really take that decision out of the coaches.
They said it's a smart move.
But what is it? Upper body injury? They won't even specify that it's a concussion.
Above the shoulder
shoulder injury. But you're right. They
pretty
really
limited at
Right.
They knocked him around so much last year. Alabama really punished him.
Exactly.
You guys, I don't know. I'm not willing to say real big monster. I think Arkansas hangs around. I think it's going to be more
as big as people think. I'm with you on that. I think it's more competitive than people think.
Big.
They've gone through, Gary. What do you expect from them today?
Vern, I really don't know. I'm supposed to know this stuff, but I'll give you my expert analysis. Nobody knows. There's really no blueprint for this. They could be a desperate caged hog, or they could lay a flat egg here. I have no idea.
Playmakers on 3, playmakers on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Playmakers on the hop, let's go.
As the clock ticks toward game time, the cloud that has hovered over the Razorbacks all week still lingers. Tyler Wilson is dressed for the game, but will he play?
Coach, we saw Tyler Wilson warming up, and then he came out for the coin toss. Will he play today?
He will not play today.
I felt pretty good. I feel like I got better each and every day. It was a tough situation. You try to do what's best for you as a person, but you want to be out there and compete and be with your team. So it was kind of a double-edged sword for me this week. It was tough. It's something I came back for and wanted to be a part of.
Arkansas will get the ball. It is gloomy, as we said. There's a possibility of thunderstorms. It rained throughout yesterday and this morning. For the moment, little mist falling. Foster will kick off number 43. Dennis Johnson third, and the SEC will have to take a knee on this one. Dylan Breeding, an illegal kick after the ball was snapped 2 feet over his head. And the Crimson Tide takes an early lead on Eddie Lacy's touchdown run. That was Eric Bennett who wound up on his back. Blitz. Has to get rid of it. Brandon Mitchell with the catch. First down. Flag down. Vinny Sunseri.
Vinny Sunseri actually ran into his receiver on the blitz, which delayed him, and then he hit the quarterback a bit late. At least in the opinion of the official. Ball was slightly behind, but the guy was playing a little bit quarterback, a little bit of wide receiver, and has also played basketball here at Arkansas. But there's the hit, about a step and a half.
Here, Travis Wilson was hit 12 times in the helmet. That's the Arkansas claim by Alabama. Left side, Brandon Mitchell, number 17. And another flag.
Yep, face mask on the end of it.
In the opener against Michigan is on the field. He wears number 4. Yeldon gets the handoff, hit high and dropped. Might be a loss because he had so counted on playing in this game. Third down at 8. McCarron fires it. Kenny Bell makes the catch and then is immediately cut down by Ross Rasner, number 35. Fourth down.
Rasner was waiting for that play like he knew it was coming. He saw the crossing route, and Kenny Bell met Rasner just as he caught the ball.
Ball's out. Arkansas, I believe, has it. It was Cameron Bryan, number 46, who 2 years ago was the kickoff specialist for Alabama, and now is on the coverage team, and he wrapped him up. That's a kicker, folks.
Was he down now? Now they're going to review whether he was down because we have a difference.
Ruling on the field was forward progress. The Arkansas coach has taken a timeout to challenge the ruling.
We heard from the truck that it's not a challengeable play.
Ruling is that forward progress is not reviewable. Arkansas is charged with a timeout. That will be their first timeout.
Let me say this for John L. I think that's worth a timeout. At least to figure out before they snap the ball, is it challengeable? A timeout in the first half. Just think about the field position and the way the game should have tilted. I think that was a well worth the risk.
T.J. McCarron at the 34-yard line. Hand off to Lacey. He goes left and doesn't get much at all. Well, we welcome you back to Fayetteville. Vern Lundquist along with Gary Danielson. You said at the beginning you weren't sure what to expect. What have you seen from Arkansas?
I think it's positive from Arkansas. I mean, they weathered.
To make your voice heard. On the run, the pass complete to Austin Tate. Number 87 moved the chains, Razorbacks. That is a gain of 19.
You know, at that play that time, Adrian Hubbard took away the tight end in the flat and forced Brandon in. Watch, Greg comes across. Now watch the collision. Nobody to throw to in the flat and allows the deeper throw to open up, and a wonderful throw that time by Allen to move and get the first down. You know, they can give up points, but in 18 of the last 19 games, so this could be 19 out of 20, this Alabama defense has given up 7 points or less in the first half.
Outside,
the only time they gave up 10 when we were at that game was to Florida. Everything since then has gone wrong.
Yes.
From, as Vern laid it out in the open, from the coach to drop balls to injuries, it has been a nightmare.
Christian Jones will let this one go, and it takes a favorable hop up into the air to open the third quarter. Eddie Lacy, bang.
Right. And perfect balance, Vern. 3 runs, 3 passes, and they cap it off with a running back running right through it.
Tyler Wilson a year ago, we documented that at the beginning of the day. And for the most part, he stayed at wide receiver this afternoon after the first quarter, which, by the way, ended 7-0 Alabama. It was very much a game at the end of one. Here's Niles Davis coming to the right.
You got those athletic defensive backs that are ready for their turn.
Kobe Hamilton starts in motion. Allen, another play fake into the flat. Got by the tight end, Bragg. And he is out of bounds on the 4th down play near the 11 or 12 yard line.
Pretty simple slide. The tight end who's actually lined up in an H-back spot that time. You have to honor the run. It's kind of almost everybody has that short yardage play in their repertoire.
And a first down for the Razorbacks with 6:03 to go.
Here's next week. They went on the road and look at that nonsense. 1960 South Florida, and they won. That's a pretty athletic team, South Florida. Yep. Put it in. Took it. Had the free safety that time, chasing maybe 3 or 4 seconds after the fake was made. Watch it, see the guy flash across.
Right.
The question is how many other elite teams can play with these two? And they're different this year. Both of them are different because of what they do at quarterback. A year ago at this time, A.J. McCarron was a caretaker.
Play action, Mitchell.
2 guys wide open and besides the room.
Yeah. We had Austin Tate out in front.
Good choice, too.
Who should be said hired Bobby Petrino.
Yep.
And then fired Bobby Petrino. And this young man.
Also at Michigan State and knows John L.
Well, the brilliant run for Alabama under Nick Saban continues. They win this one 52-0. Don't forget, we're all going to be at Missouri, South Carolina next Saturday afternoon. In the meantime, Tim Brando will be along right after these messages.
The backup plan is now in effect.
We will see 2 quarterbacks named Brandon today. We do expect to see some option offense here in the first 8 or 9 plays. Brandon Allen is under some pressure and throws it away. Bobble on the snap.
After 2 futile drives led by Brandon Allen and Brandon Mitchell,
and he's going to lose a ton.
The punt team makes a crucial error.
Yeah, Arkansas needs to avoid sacks and avoid mistakes like that.
Wow, snap back over the head. Brian Beener is going to go through the end zone. How about that?
First and goal from the 6th.
Eddie Lacy gets the handoff, cuts back, drives toward the goal line. He's in. Touchdown, Alabama.
Trailing 7-0, Arkansas's quarterback combo moves the ball down the field.
Brandon Mitchell with the catch, first down.
But another special teams miscue stymies the drive.
Oh, high snap.
Oh, it hit the post.
In the second quarter, Brandon Allen's inexperience begins to show with 2 costly interceptions.
Oh, my goodness.
Way too greedy. Just way too greedy. Should have dumped that ball in the flat that time.
Intercepted again. Lacy is the deep back. Let's see which way Williams leads the play. Well, he goes left. Lacy goes right. Touchdown, Alabama.
This team has had a tough week, though. How do you make sure they keep their heads up?
Well, you slap them and say, come on, baby, keep your head up.
Down 24-0 at halftime. The effect of Wilson's absence is obvious, but another issue has emerged. The Alabama offense has begun to impose its will on the Arkansas defense.
McCarron, draw play. Lacy, huge hole.
Touchdown, yep.
Kelly Johnson leads the way. There's another Alabama touchdown.
With Wilson on the sidelines, any hope for a historic comeback is dashed. Shut out at home for the first time since 1966, Arkansas falls 52-0. The Razorback quarterbacks have combined for only 79 yards on 44% passing. Frustrated and resolute, Wilson marches into the press room still in uniform and startles the assembled media by taking the microphone.
Well, sorry, we're not doing questions today. We'll start with the football game. Obviously, it wasn't very pretty to watch. Wasn't pretty for me to sit on the sideline and watch as a player. It sucks I can't be out there to do anything about it. Do I feel that we at times gave up out there? Yeah, absolutely. And as a leader, it sucks to see people not do their jobs and things go wrong. There's been a lot of things gone that way. As a leader at this point, you got to look forward. And, there's been a lot of people jump off the bandwagon. It's my responsibility as a leader to keep everybody in this organization, in this team, in that locker room together.
You want to give, reassurance that, hey, I as a leader am going to push this team. And that's not the lasting memory that I want to have as a quarterback out there on that field, in that environment, in that situation. I want to be remembered as a winner. I want this team to be remembered as a winning football team.
We've got a big game against Rutgers next week. I'm going to do everything in my power to be a part of it and be the starting quarterback to run out there on the field and get a win. You got to start with one before you can get the rest of them. But I give you my word, I'm going to do the best in my ability and my best in my power to make that happen. That's all I got.